Start with Eddie. Eddie, I want to ask you to kick things off. What are the grounds of which to judge an inspired book?
It should have prophecies that come true all the way, from the time of the beginning all the way to the end of this book.
And quickly, I just want to cover a couple of points that Mr. Eddie mentioned about prophecies and some of the grounds for believing in an inspired book. He mentioned about prophecies, so prophecies should come true if it's inspired. In terms of prophecies, prophecies are a token or a sign of it being true. And if we use a standard, then we have to look at Paul in the New Testament, that there's prophecies he had that didn't come true. Like, for instance, Paul actually believed that Jesus would come back in his lifetime. And he stated quite clearly, yet Jesus did not come in his lifetime. So here's a prophecy that Paul prophesied about that didn't come true.
Just listening, and when he made the assertion that Paul expected Jesus to come back in his lifetime, but doesn't provide any documentation for that, then his argument is invalid. You've got to demonstrate that that is the case. Just saying it doesn't make it so. And there's a lot of things we could focus on, but 𝐥𝐤𝐤, if you're going to make such a bold assertion and then use that as a demonstration that the Bible is not inspired or been corrupted or whatever, at least you could try and find a reference for that, and then I can respond to it. But generally speaking, this is the case with a lot of Muslims, and I'm going to say this with the atheists. I equate atheists and Muslims in the same basic group in that they don't study very much what they criticize. They're quick to judge, quick to criticize, but they're not very good, and no offense meant, at doing their homework, nor are they very good at applying critical thought to the issues at hand. So, having said all of that, if you can please cite exactly where Paul said that he expected Jesus to come back in his lifetime, then I can look it up and I can address it. But if you're just going to be saying, oh, he said this, and then you go on, your argument doesn't carry any weight. We need to have more than that than just what you say. Not that your opinion isn't, valid. It's just that's not the basis of an argument.
The Quran has been accused of borrowing from the New Testament. Portions of it seem to be the same. Is that the case? Is the Quran borrowing from the New Testament?
Yeah, it does. That's why a lot of people
go ahead.
consider it to be an Arian heresy, because it denies the doctrine of the Trinity. And incidentally, if the Quran is true, why does it get things wrong in it? If it's inspired and Allah is the author behind it, then it's not going to make mistakes. It does make mistakes. Surah 4:171, say not Trinity, desist. It will be better for you, for Allah is one Allah. And, Surah 5:73, they do blasphemy who say Allah is one of three in a Trinity, for there's no God except one, Allah. Well, the tafsir on 4 verses 171 talks about there being three gods. So what the Quran is doing is simply saying that the Trinity is three gods. That's not what the Trinity is. The Trinity is not three gods. It's only one God and three distinct persons. It's not three gods. I equate atheists and Muslims in the same basic group in that they don't study very much.
I've been studying this for like 35 years. I've been studying this for like 35 years.
And so this is only one of many, and this is the basic thing. Here's an example of something that is problematic in the Quran. If it's inspired, then even the things that it represents that it disagrees with, if it disagrees with the doctrine of the Trinity, it should at least get the doctrine correct. It was formed and already understood by the 600s when the Quran was written. So this is a problem in the Quran. And we could talk about various issues, and I'm still waiting for 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞𝐝 to demonstrate where Paul said what he said, to demonstrate that the Bible's not inspired. He hasn't demonstrated that yet. But we can easily demonstrate that the Quran has got mistakes in it. The Trinity is not 3 gods. It's not polytheism. By definition, it's monotheism. The Quran got it wrong. So if the Quran's true, if it's inspired of Allah, why does it not even get the doctrine of the Trinity right and misrepresents it instead? There's questions we could ask.
What's to say that if the Quran is inspired, as 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞𝐝's saying, that there's not going to be another book to come tomorrow?
Well, I could jump on that one and answer. Jesus said in Luke 16:16, the law and the prophets were until John the Baptist. Now, that was a division of the Old Testament. The first 5 books, the law, and the rest of the Old Testament, the prophets. Jesus said this is until John. There aren't any more prophets. There aren't any more Old Testament style prophets that we call prophet. Now we have apostles. That's what Jesus said. Now in Surah 6:34, for example, 18:27, the words of Allah cannot be altered, and Jesus got his words from Allah. So these words of Jesus are true. They're not corrupted. So you can't have the Quran say what it says. You can't have their issues be valid. These are things that they got to talk about. The Bible's not been corrupted, and their assertion that it is contradicts their own stuff. And there aren't any more prophets. So this issue of another prophet like Muhammad, it contradicts what Jesus said. And furthermore, there's not going to be any more prophets, period, because Jesus said so in Luke 16:16. Unless the Muslims want to say that Jesus got it wrong, or that the words of Jesus were corrupted in violation of Surah 6:34 and 18:27, well then, then Islam has been falsified here again.
You want to?
Yes, I will quickly. First, Matt is challenging me on the idea of the verses about the belief of Jesus coming at the time of those who were writing the gospel. So if you read, like for instance, in Matthew 24:33-34, the end area, it says, "This generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." This is one verse. You also find in Matthew 13.
You mentioned Paul.
Mark 13.
I called you. You mentioned Paul. I'm asking you about Paul.
Okay, so I'll give you the references for Paul, but I mentioned Paul is the earliest writer of the New Testament, and if this is in the Gospels, then if they believe that, then definitely also Paul believed it. But I'll give you also the reference for Paul quickly, and then now I want to refer to something you mentioned about the Quran borrowing from the Bible, and getting the Bible wrong in the theology. Like for instance, in 4:171. You're presupposing, first and foremost, that the only religion or only ideology existed is what you consider to be Orthodox Christianity, which wasn't the case. That's first and foremost. You're doing a presupposition. The Quran is addressing false theologies altogether. Nevertheless, the Quran doesn't say don't say 3 gods. It says don't say 3, period. La taqulu thalatha. Don't say 3. And the Christians, you say 3. You say God is 3 persons in one being. So it don't say 3 gods. It says don't say 3. You say that. You say God is one being with 3 persons. The Quran is saying don't say that because God is not 3 persons in one being. God is just one. So it didn't get it wrong. It didn't get it wrong about the whole idea of the Trinity, because in the Quran it says min dunillah. It's questioning Jesus, peace be upon him. Did you tell the people to worship you and your mother instead of God, not with God? So the Quran is not getting the Trinity wrong. It says actually instead of. So what happens is that the Christians is getting the Quran wrong and then coming and saying the Quran got the Bible wrong. And then finally this idea about the Quran, it says God's words can't be changed. I thought we dealt with this, and I'm surprised that Matt would still use this argument because we prove how fallacious it is. In the Quran, this addresses about 5 or 6 times where it says that the words of Allah cannot be changed. This is referring to God's decree. When God decree a matter, when God issue something, a promise or a threat or a decree, it can never be changed. Not the revelations of God. The word kalimat in Arabic is plural for words. It's not referring to revelations. It's referring to the decrees of God. When God promised, when God threat, when God makes an ordinance, these are things that can never be changed. Once God decided an affair, no one or nothing can change that matter. But this had nothing to do with revelation, and I wish that you stop using this argument because it's really embarrassing. Please stop using it. It's embarrassing. It does not mean what you say it is. You have got the Quran wrong, and you're continuously saying the Quran got the Bible wrong when you just your misunderstanding of the Quran. So please correct that, and I'll bring you a reference about Paul shortly.
let's switch gears just a little bit. I want to go to Dr. Bill. I want to ask him, well, we were talking about...
And very fast, let me just give Matt the reference for Paul, and I would really like Matt to deal with it since he challenged me on it. I want to bring you the reference, and I'd like to hear your response for this one, Matt, please. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 15 to 17, it says, according to the Lord's own word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left till the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. So Paul actually thought that he would be the ones that will be raised up.
We have to cut to a break, 𝐥𝐤𝐤. We're going to give Matt the opportunity to respond to that when we get back. We'll give Dr. Bill an opportunity to respond when we get back. We'll be back with more after this. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
To hold that idea of the Trinity, because in the Quran it says
Bill, I want to ask him, well,
I've been studying this for like 35 years.
Like, for instance, Paul actually believed that Jesus would come back in his lifetime. And he stated it quite clearly. Yet, Jesus did not come in his lifetime. So here's a prophecy that Paul prophesies about that didn't come true.
يا أهل الكتاب لا تغلوا في دينكم ولا تقولوا على الله إلا الحق إنما المسيح عيسى ابن مريم رسول الله وكلمته ألقاها إلى مريم وروح منه فآمنوا بالله ورسله ولا تقولوا ثلاثة انتهوا خيرا لكم إنما الله إله واحد سبحانه أن يكون له ولد له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وكفى بالله وكيلا